In recent times, one of the most beautiful or closest to my heart is a novel that I rate very highly, David Salaze's Booker Prize winning novel, Flesh. And I like the central character Istvan so much because it feels so true, unlike many other novels where the central character is a concrete, hero who is so elevated, so perfect, so gorgeous, so beauteous. Now, beauty becomes a kind of violence in the mind of a reader who, in his or her real life, does not find that beauty existing at all in life. So, it's a realistic novel, and the character we all can sympathize with. It is such a flesh and blood character who, ventures into life not knowing what the outcome will be. Distracted maybe, and zombie like in sometimes, uh, because we all too live in the digital world so much, with a mobile phone and all the smart gadgets that have made us so disconnected with the life around us. We have become so global that we are disconnected from the local, and we cannot perceive the global directly. We can experience the local, and we have some kind of a maybe intellectual hatred for the inferiority that the local constitutes of. And global is, imaginative, it is far off. We dream for a global, but anywhere, anyhow, in any point of time, you know make a vision of that global. When your global becomes your local, you are equally frustrated. And this is the reality of David Salaze's novel, Flesh. And this will be a kind of an audio book. Yes, I have my perspective, but the way the language is so smooth, so, effluous, so mesmerizing, so like a song, so like a flow, so simple, yet it strikes the chord of your heart. So I thought that we can begin with the audiobook reading of the novel, and then later we will discuss on the critical aspects of it, and maybe we can have a detailed discussion on what it can mean or what the author intended. But first of all, I would like to read the novel. Chapter 1. When he is 15, he and his mother move to a new town and he starts at a new school. It is not an easy age to do that. The social order of the school is already well established and he has some difficulty making friends. After a while, he does make one friend, another solitary individual. They sometimes hang out together after school in the new Western style shopping mall that has just opened in the town. Have you ever done it? His friend asks him. No, Istvan says. Me neither. His friend says, making the admission seem easy somehow. He has a simple and natural way of talking about sex. He tells Istvan which girls at school he fantasizes about and what he fantasizes about doing to them. He says that he often masturbates 4 or 5 times a day, which makes Istvan feel inadequate since he usually only does it only once or twice. When he admits that, his friend says, you must have a weak sex drive. It may be true, for all he knows. He doesn't know what it's like for other people. He only has his own experience. One day, his friend tells him that he did it with a girl who lives on the other side of the train tracks. The news is disorienting. Isvan listens while his friend describes in some detail what happened. He tries to work out if his friend is telling the truth or if he is lying. Though he would prefer him to be lying, he thinks that he is probably telling the truth. Some of the things he says seem too specific, too surprising for him to have made them up. Then, a few days later, he says he talked to the girl and she said she would do it with Istvan as well. Seriously? Istvan says, yeah. His friend says, Istvan doesn't know if this means that the three of them will do it together or just that he will do it with the girl on his own. He is too unsure about himself to ask. After school the same day, they walked across the footbridge over the train tracks. It's already getting dark. They go down the metal steps on the other side of the footbridge and walk for a while they arrive at a housing estate. It's not dissimilar to the one where Istvan and his mother live. Only here the buildings, although also made of prefabricated concrete panels, are taller. At the entrance of one of them, his friend enters the doorbell number of one of the flats. A few moments later, without anything being said, the door unlocks and he shoulders through it. The lift smells of cigarette smoke. Isvan stares at the wood effect formica of its interior as it goes up. It goes up very slowly with a continuous creaking and a separate loud ticking sound as it passes each floor. You okay? His friend asks him. Yeah, Isvan says. You look terrified. His friend says. No, Isvan says. They leave the lift at one of the upper floors and his friend knocks on the door of a flat. It's opened by a girl of another their own age. Hi, she says. Hi, Istvan's friend says. She stands aside for them to step into the entrance hall. This is my friend, Istvan's friend says. You know, the one I told you about. Okay, the girl says. She and Istvan look at each other for a moment. Okay, Istvan's friend says. Yeah, the girl says. The three of them just stand there. The girl looks at Istvan again. He doesn't look at her. Okay, Istvan's friend says. Do you want to wait in here? The girl says to him, indicating a door. Yeah, okay, Istvan's friend says. It's possible that he seems disappointed, as if maybe he wasn't sure himself whether or not they were going to do it all together and had been sort of hoping that they would be. Istvan is lighting a cigarette, having to work the lighter a few times to get a flame. His friend makes eye contact with him for a second and smiles. Istvan doesn't even try to smile back. He feels something almost like panic. He follows the girl along a short, dark corridor and into a room at the end of it. He doesn't really take this room in, except that there is a lot of stuff in it, including what seems to be a small animal in a cage. The girl sits down on a bed that's there. Istvan sits on a chair. What's your name again? The girl asks him. He tells her. She tells him her name. You alright? She says. Yes, he says. They talk for a few minutes. She talks anyway. There are also long silences, during which the sound of the small animal moving in its cage is sometimes audible. She asks him where he is from. What's that like? She asks when he tells her. It's okay, he says. They sit there in silence. She lights a cigarette, maybe just to do something. After a while, without saying anything, she stands up and leaves. A few minutes later, the door opens again. Istvan looks up and sees his friend. He expected it to be the girl. What happened? His friend asks. What do you mean? What happened? His friend asks again. Nothing. She wants you to leave. His friend says. What did you do? Nothing. Nothing? Yeah. They leave the flat and in the corridor outside his friend says, okay then, see you. Aren't you coming? Istvan asks him. No, she wants me to go back. His friend says, yeah? His friend nods. See you round. Okay. Still not understanding what happened, Istvan takes the lift down on his own. She said you were not sexy. That's what she says. It's a few days later and his friend is explaining it to him what happened. Istvan smokes. It is horrible to have that said to him and about him, and yet he doesn't know what to say in answer to it. It seems unanswerable. She said you didn't seem up for it, his friend says. I was up for it, Istvan says. She said you didn't seem to be. I was. After that, things aren't the same with his friend. They spend less time together. His friend starts to hang out with other people. Istvan spends more time on his own. On Sunday, he and his mother visit his grandmother. It is her birthday. He sits there, bored, in her living room while she and his mother talk. His mother asks him to fill a vase with water for the flowers they brought. He goes to the kitchen and does that. The windows are open. It's a warm day for the time of year. And how are you? His grandmother asks him. I am okay, he says. He stands on the small balcony wishing he could smoke. In the distance and further down the hill, he can see the part of the town where he and his mother live. His mother is telling his grandmother how well he is doing at school. His grandmother takes some money from her wallet and gives it to him, apparently as a sort of reward. His mother tells him to say thank you. Thank you, he says. His grandmother smiles. She has these travel books. They are lined up next to each other on a shelf near the TV. Italy, France, Czechoslovakia, the USSR, West Germany, Great Britain. Out of boredom, he looks at them while his mother and his grandmother talk. The books have pictures in them, mostly black and white, and a few color ones too. The colors in them look unnatural somehow. They don't look like the colors of things in reality. There is a lady who lives in the flat opposite them. Soon after Istvan and his mother moved into the building, the lady asked his mother if Istvan would be able to help her with the shopping sometimes. What does that mean? Istvan said when his mother told him about it. She wants you to go to the shop with her and help her to carry the stuff upstairs. I don't want to do that, he said. She's been very helpful to us, his mother said. I am not doing it, he said. I told her you would, his mother said. You said I would do it? Yes, I did. Why? She's been very helpful to us, his mother said again. And her husband has some sort of heart problem. I am not going to argue with you about this. Since then, once or twice a week, he goes to the supermarket with a lady and helps her to carry the shopping home. After arriving home from school, he drops his backpack on the floor of the flat and then leaves again and knocks on the door of the flat opposite. It's opened by the lady who lives there and she tells him to wait a minute, which he does, with his hood up and his headphone on, looking down the first flight of stairs to the half landing, where there is a line of plants in pots on the floor next to the window. The window is set oddly low in the wall. In fact, it extends below the level of the floor. Okay, the lady says, locking the door of her own flat. She has her coat and hat on now, and they start down on concrete stairs together. Is it cold out? She asks him. As they walk down the stairs, he has to lift the headphones from his ears to hear her. Is it cold out? She says again. Yes, he says. They pick their way among the puddles on the uneven pavement and wait at traffic lights. It seems very light inside the supermarket after the wintry darkness of the street. The lady frees her hair from her hat and loosens her scarf. He follows her around, pushing the trolley while she puts things into it. They don't speak. Afterwards, they walk back to the building where they live and up the stairs. There is no lift in the building, and their flats are on the fourth floor. You are very strong, she says to him as he puts the heavy stuff down on her kitchen table. He doesn't know what to say to that. He just nods, and she asks him if he wants some somloy galuska. Just to remind you, the somloy galuska is a very beautiful pastry like dish in Swiss food. Sometimes when they get back, she offers him something to eat, something sweet like somloy gulaska. Yeah, okay, he says. Sit down then, she says. He sits at the table. The somloy goluska is in the fridge and she serves a large helping into a glass bowl and puts it in front of him with a spoon. Thanks, he says. While he eats it, she puts the shopping away. He is becoming aware that she feels a sort of affection for him or something. It embarrasses him and he also quite likes it in a way, even though he doesn't feel any affection for her. He doesn't feel anything for her. She's just this old woman, maybe even older than his mother. It's like she hardly exists. How is it? She asks, putting things away. It's nice, he says. He eats it quickly, partly because it is delicious and partly because he wants to be out of there as soon as possible. When he has finished it, he stands up, making the chair scrape loudly on the floor. Okay then, he says. Can I kiss you? She says. She's standing in front of him. The question is so surprising that he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't even know what she means really. When he doesn't say anything, she kisses him on the lips. It is nothing. Her lips just lightly touch his for a moment. I'm sorry, she says immediately afterwards. He just stands there. I think you should go now, she says. Still without saying anything, he leaves and walks across the landing and lets himself into his mother's flat. The lights are on in the classroom, strip lights on the ceiling in translucent plastic boxes. The boxes contain a fair number of dead flies, blurred little shapes that he sometimes stares at while the teacher speaks. Only a few people are even pretending to listen to the teacher, who is reading aloud from a book. In broad terms, individuals that are more fit have better potential for survival. However, modern evolutionary theory defines fitness not by how long an organism lives, but by how successful it is at reproducing. If an organism lives half as long as others of its species but has twice as many offspring surviving to adulthood, its genes become more common in the adult population of the next generation. It is the last lesson of the afternoon. Afterwards, he walks home. He is taking the stairs two at a time when suddenly she is there, in front of him, holding a small plastic watering can. She is watering the plants on the half landing between the floors. He hasn't seen her since the last time they went to the supermarket together when they kissed afterwards. Hello, Istvan, she says without stopping what she is doing. Hello, he says. He just stands there a few steps down from her, still panting slightly. To see her again makes it even stranger to think that he actually kissed her. She asked him if he can come to the supermarket with her. Okay, he says. As usual, they don't speak to each other while they do the shopping. It's only when they are back in her flat that she says, I'm sorry about what happened the other day. It surprises him that she should say that. It makes it sound like she did something to him, whereas the way he's been thinking about it, it was something that they did together. It's okay, he says. Is it? She asks. He's not sure what he's supposed to say. He doesn't say anything. Did you tell anyone? She asked him. No, he said. He hasn't told anyone. He has no one to tell. And even if he did, what would he tell them? That he kissed someone old and ugly like her? The next time they get back from the supermarket and she asked him if he wants some samloy galuska, he hesitates and then says, yeah, okay. She tells him to sit down and puts a bowl of it in front of him with a spoon and a folded paper napkin. Thanks, he says. While he eats it, she puts the shopping away. He has just stood up from the table and is wiping his mouth with a paper napkin when she says, can I? It's obvious what she means. Okay, he says after a few seconds. He doesn't know why he says that. Some part of him seems to want to. Her lips lightly touch his for a moment, just like the first time. A little later, there is a knock at the door of the flat. It's her. He wonders if she wants to talk to his mother, who is still at work, maybe to tell her what's been happening, an idea that makes him feel something like terror. Actually, it's him she wants to talk to. Are you alright? She says. She says it in a small, soft, kind voice that surprises him. Yes, he says. What happened before? She says, I just want you to know it's okay. If you were embarrassed or I don't know, you don't need to be. It's okay. He doesn't say anything. I just wanted to say that. She says, that's all. Okay, he says. Okay, she says, and he shuts the door. Sometimes, at the weekend, he works on her husband's allotment. Her husband pays him to do that. The thick mud sticks to his shoes so that after a while, his feet feel heavy in them and start to look like lumps of mud themselves. The lady's husband says that he can't do physically demanding work anymore. He has heart trouble, he says. He has to take pills. Isban isn't really listening. The days are getting warmer. He pulls off his jumper and hangs it on a fence post. You are a good worker, the lady's husband says, offering him a cigarette. Don't you smoke? He asks when Isban doesn't immediately take it. Not really, Isban says. His mother doesn't know that he smokes and he's worried that the lady's husband will mention it to her. What does one mean? Do you want one or not? Isban takes one. For me, they are basically free, the lady's husband says, and explains that he works at the cigarette factory. Okay, Isban says. He stands there in a damp t-shirt, enjoying the smoke and the feeling of the cool air on his sweaty forehead. There is a sound of the main road which isn't far away. When they finish work that day, after they have washed their hands at the standpipe, the lady's husband asks him if he wants a drink. I think we have earned one, he says. The place he takes him to is a sort of a wine cellar in a side street not far from the allotment, down some steps from the pavement. The lady's husband seems to be well known down there. Half-drunk old men say hello to him as he moves through the smoke. The woman at the bar says hello to him as well and they exchange some chat as he orders the drinks. 2 white wine, splizer. The woman lifts a lead set directly in the zinc bar and dips a ladle down there for a wine. This is Istvan, the lady's husband says to her as he does that. She just raises a painted on eyebrow. Is helping me on the allotment. That's nice. She adds a soda to the glasses from a hose. There is something suggestive about the way her hand holds the hose. It's one thinks about the way the soda shoots out when she does something with her fingers. Bit more, the lady's husband says. She shoots another slug of soda into the glass. Thanks, he said. He offers her a cigarette, which she takes. For me, they are basically free, he says. She nods, as if it's something she has heard before, and lets him light it for her. With a cigarette in her mouth, she takes the spritzers, one in each hand, and holds them out for them. I think we have earned that. The lady's husband says, and they take their seats at a table. He lifts his glass towards Istvan for a moment and then drinks half of it in one go. Istvan starts on his more cautiously. He doesn't really like the taste of the wine. How are you settling in? The lady's husband asks him. He knows that Istvan is still quite new to the town. Okay, Istvan says. I will now deliberately stop here. We can continue later on. But in this small section, which I deliberately read out, it is immensely significant. Now we have to look at exactly step by step what is happening. Now I am giving a critical commentary of what we have seen so far. Number one, that rather than presenting adolescence as a conventional coming of age journey, the flesh constructs a world in which ordinary social life appears fundamentally unfamiliar. The protagonist is once moves through everyday situations, friendship, family, work, and sexuality with an unusual lack of social fluency. Unlike those around him who effortlessly inhabit established social scripts, he neither performs expected emotions nor adopts conventional roles. His responses emerge directly from his immediate experience, creating the impression of a consciousness that is radically authentic yet profoundly disconnected from the social world. Number two, one of the novel's most striking achievements is its minimalist narrative style. The prose avoids psychological explanation, moral judgment, and emotional excess, remaining closely aligned with Istvan's limited understanding of events. Repeated expressions of uncertainty, he doesn't know, he isn't sure, he doesn't say anything, do not signify intellectual weakness but reveal a consciousness encountering experience before it has acquired the language to interpret it. The reader is therefore invited to participate in constructing meaning rather than receiving it through authorial commentary. Number three, the sexual encounters in these early chapters are equally significant. They are not narrated as scenes of erotic fulfillment, but as moments of embarrassment, hesitation, misunderstanding, and bodily immediacy. Desire is consistently overshadowed by uncertainty, suggesting that intimacy is less a site of pleasure than a space where the limits of communication become painfully visible. Number 4. Most importantly, the novel depicts communication itself as persistently incomplete. Conversations rarely lead to mutual understanding. Relationships are structured by assumptions, silences, and misrecognitions rather than genuine connection. Through Istvan's detached yet intensely observant consciousness, the familiar routines of everyday life becomes strange, exposing the fragile and often unexamined conventions that organize human interaction. The result is a quietly unsettling narrative that invites readers to reconsider how identity, desire, and social belonging are formed through ordinary experience. I will stop here. Thank you.